In chapter 147 of Chainsaw Man, we see right away that Denji's love for Nayuta is definitely going to be something that is continuously used against him for the purposes of getting to transform into Chainsaw Man, because the hybrid who has been trying to push him into the corn, Barem has a good enough read on Denji that he knows which buttons to push on him, which are the Makima button and the Nayuta button, in order to make him gain control over Denji, which is ironic since both Nayuta and Makima are the control devil. What we're seeing here is something that the 48 Laws of Power constantly talks about, which is that every man has a thumb screw, and if you can find the thumb screw in question, you can find your advantage to maintain leverage over someone by opening up the chapter by having him call Nayuta the former Makima and then call her a witch. He's begun the process of trying to implant very subtle suggestions to stir up emotions inside of Denji, which will in turn make him a lot easier to control. Calling her the former Makima subconsciously makes you think of all the foul things that Makima did in part 1 and all the terror that it was she put Denji through. Calling Nayuta a little witch is an attempt to build on top of that by making Denji subconsciously not view her as the child who he's been taking care of this entire time, raising her both as a father as well as like a brother who is being tasked with raising their siblings, because in a way Denji's having to do both of those. But the words are a very good effort to associate bad things with Nayuta, even though she herself hasn't done anything wrong. She's still innocent in the grand scheme of things. However she ends up in the future is going to depend on how well Denji actually raises her, but at the end of the day she is a reincarnation of the control devil, and that's something that Barem understands, and that's exactly why he takes the tactics that he does. First you call her Makima, then you call her a little witch, and then you say that she's going to plunge the world into darkness before you tell everyone nearby to kill her, and you go so far as to say that God, or in this case Chainsaw Man, spoke to you in your dreams in order to tell you that. He's trying to gaslight Denji on both sides of the spectrum to get a strong reaction out of him, because if he can do so, then he can get Denji to transform into Chainsaw Man, because it's easier to get that type of reaction out of someone who's trying to maintain a logical stance and not transform versus someone who acts off of emotion and transforms because they're pissed off. It's a very good plan, but it's one that we see right away is destined for failure, because Quanxi shows up right when all the bootleg Chainsaw Men are about to start ravaging Denji and Nayuta and Fumiko, and she not only chops off all their heads in one fell swoop, but she also saves Denji and the others by whisking them away, and in a very cold and calculated approach she takes advantage of her body being that of a human devil hybrid by taking that fall that should have shattered her bones with her leg, but she gets healed right away due to the unique properties that make up her body as a hybrid, as well as the fact that she just takes a bite out of Fumiko in the process by using her blood as a way to actually heal herself. Quanxi is quick to show off her skill and her quick wit, as well as her assassination skills by using her sword, as well as her unreal speed. And it's something that we as fans know. We know that she is extremely fast. We saw her speed being highlighted in Chainsaw Man Part 1, where she showed us that she's easily one of the fastest, if not the fastest character we have in the verse in terms of regular devil hybrids. But in this moment, here's another sign that what we're seeing, because before we can actually blink and the characters in the universe can react, she's lopped off the heads of another dozen people and she's cut off the limbs of another dozen people in only a matter of seconds. Her speed is put into further perspective when Barem is watching everything and he's literally calling her a manga character brought to life, because the things that she's doing is unrivaled by what you would normally expect in universe, even of devil hybrids. And it's really a nice touch here because it shows the duality of the women in Chainsaw Man, and that's actually one of the strong suits I think that the entire franchise has. Every woman who we've met in Chainsaw Man, she usually has something wrong with her. They're super crazy like Himeno, or they're unreasonably emotional like Kobine, or they have baggage like Mitaka, or they're gaslighters like Makima. But for the most part, each and every woman that we meet in Chainsaw Man, she's just a badass. For as many emotional flaws as each of those characters have, at the end of the day, they're not someone you want to walk into an alley with and piss them off, because chances are they're going to be one walking out and you're going to be one that's dead. All of those women have a strong sense of character. Even someone like Kobine, who absolutely got on my nerves in part 1, for the most part, she still had a strong character, but she would freak out at times, which goes back to the duality of how Fujimoto's written some of the women in Chainsaw Man. The only exception being obviously Reze, but Reze's best girl. And what I like that Fujimoto did here is he's further highlighting all that stuff in this chapter directly after we learn that the fourth horseman of devils, the Death Devil, is once again a woman. So all four horsewomen of the apocalypse are all women. So as someone who has a strong spot for really strong, well-written female characters and stories, in particular shonen, this is another one of the many things that makes me appreciate Chainsaw Man as a series all the much more. Now, shifting back to the story, we see the situation has gotten a little bit out of hand to a point where public safety isn't even trying to handle the situation by themselves anymore because it's way beyond their capability to contain the situation on their own, which is why they now have resulted in allowing any devil hunter who possesses a passing grade from the devil examination exam to come assist them and follow the directions of public safety, where they're hacking all these fake Chainsaw Man to bits and then they're burning their bodies to ashes in order to prevent them from pulling on the ripcord on their chest and transforming. However, just when you think things are starting to settle down, an old man points out to Denji and says that he's another fake Chainsaw Man wannabe, which is where we leave off with the chapter with a cliffhanger, because while everyone is caught up at the old man calling out Denji, you have Barem, who has now left the public safety, public hunter's custody, and it's just as planned, like he was Aizen from Bleach. Now, just based off of Denji's character, you know that this man isn't going to take too well to being called a fake Chainsaw Man. He's going to take that personally. His reaction a few chapters back when he saw the fake Chainsaw Man taking credit for everything he's done and lying about why Chainsaw Man became Chainsaw Man, not knowing all the horrors that Denji had to go through and endure in order to become the Chainsaw Man that everyone sees and that is at the current center of the conflict of everything happening right now. It makes perfect sense why he got so mad back then when that press conference took place and why he's getting so mad here, because he sacrificed more than most people ever realize because they only see what's on the surface. So why he's mad here, he's indeed warranted of all the outrage that he's feeling. I bring that up because this chapter was definitely something very short. It's only 14 pages and Quanxi was basically bossing up the entire chapter for the most part. Denji felt like a support character in his own manga, but I think narratively this was the right decision to showcase how much Denji is having to fight his own urges to fight and defend himself and defend Nayuta, because he also ironically has to worry about Nayuta. Essentially, the moment he transforms, he's going to get that innocent child killed and he's going to make an enemy out of public safety, and given they are people who have everything he's ever done on camera everywhere, even his most intimate moments, they're not the type of people that you want to go to war with, because if you're Denji, they have way too much intel on you, and intel is valuable because people, they're creatures of habit, and if Denji did make an enemy out of him, he would inevitably slip up. I think the contrast between Quanxi's dominant presence and how Barem is both calculated and subtle is a great and effective use of character writing to flesh out the story, because he doesn't lift a finger, yet Barem is at the root of so much of the chaos that we see unfold in this chapter, which is what you want out of an antagonist. The truly great antagonists, they can accomplish causing chaos and disruptions without having to use physical force, i.e. they don't have to go through a transformation and start fighting people, but rather here we see Barem just being a menace through his words and his gaslighting skills. It's something that sets Chainsaw Man apart from other shonen that we have out right now. There's just a level of realism and charisma to his character and to other characters we have in Chainsaw Man, and a great example being how he's able to pull on his understanding of the human emotions from how he tried to plant those seeds in the Denji early on, as well as how he was able to pull the religious card to cause the chaos that he does in his chapter. He says, Chainsaw Man spoke to me. It's no different than when you have people in real life all throughout history who use religion as a means to accomplish their goals, saying, God spoke to me and said that I must kill 2,000 people. God spoke to me and said that I need to do this. You don't know whether or not what they're saying is true or not. Nobody ever really questions religion, and you have bad faith actors who take advantage of that aspect of humanity to mask the stuff that they're doing. Barem is no different when you look at how he's handled the Church of Chainsaw Man, how he's been able to gaslight all these kids and lead all these kids down the wrong path, and now you see it here with the greater civilization that he's just gotten killed in this chapter. We as the audience know that he's full of shit, but that's the beauty of dramatic irony. We know stuff that other characters in the universe don't actually know. And what I like about all this is that at the end of the day, Barem doesn't take responsibility for anything he's done. He just slips out of the way, kind of throwing it out there that he might be a contender for one of the final villains. So we have a Chainsaw Man Part 2, Very similar how the Gun Devil was hyped up for a very long time, just like how this whole thing with the Nostradamus prophecy has been hyped up. While we're focusing on someone like Fami, it might be Barem, who is one of the characters we have to keep our eyes on. Fami might be something that gets paid off in, say, like a Chainsaw Part 3, which is going to be my chapter question, you guys. How do you guys rate Barem effectively as a villain right now on a scale from 1 to 10? What do you think are his strong points, and what do you think are the things he needs to work on the most? Well, you think that over, click here to watch these other Chainsaw videos you see on the screen right now.